Michael Jackson, the king of pop, is what we know about this man. In fact, throughout history, even to this day, I may not be able to name any entertainment star who has had a greater influence than Michael Jackson in the world. A glorious career, dazzling fame, and timeless songs are what people say about him. However, that is not all. Few know that the king of pop had a life full of secrets hidden for many years. From an unhappy childhood to the horrific dark corners when his career reached its peak, or his mysterious death. There are countless theories surrounding Michael Jackson's life that people still discuss to this day. Some say he was a member of the Illuminati, others claim he died from drug abuse. So what else about the life and death of this legend do we not know? Are the rumors about him true? We will find the answers in the video Michael Jackson, the mysterious life and death of the king of pop. Although it is known that Michael Jackson was extremely famous and information about him can be easily found on the internet, perhaps we should still summarize a bit about that illustrious life to better understand the secrets in the later part of this video. The suburbs of Gary, Indiana, in the 1950s, filled with the dust of steel mills, the heavy industrial factories of America during the industrialization era, is where Michael Jackson was born. Born into a family of 9 siblings, Michael Jackson grew up in poverty, belonging to the working class in society. Joseph and Catherine Jackson worked hard to provide for their children with enough to eat and wear, and most importantly, to nurture a love for music. Joseph worked in a steel mill and occasionally played R&B music with the group The Falcons. However, it seems that his love for music was greater than his love for his children. Why is that? Because Joseph often beat his child with a belt, with whips, and anything he could get his hands on. Joseph forced his children to practice until they were exhausted, dedicating all their time and energy to music, as he believed that only music could help his children escape from poverty. Michael Jackson wrote in his autobiography that his childhood was a series of haunting days. He could not play joyfully like his peers. On the contrary, he had to live and work in a terrible environment like hell. Michael was once hung upside down by his father from the ceiling and beaten until exhaustion. The king of pop during those years often stood alone, crying in lonely sadness, and then the feelings of fear and nausea haunted him every time he saw his father appear. In 1964, just the right age to enter first grade, Michael joined the family music group Jackson Brothers, which included members Marlon, Jackie, Tito, Michael, and Jermaine. The 5 brothers toured all over Indiana. After unexpectedly succeeding with the song My Girl, the Jackson brothers became much more confident. They began organizing interstate performances to Chicago, then Illinois, and all the way to the East Coast of the United States. In 1966, the group changed their name to the Jackson 5, with the 2 main vocalists being Michael and his 3rd brother, Jermaine. And surprisingly, this family music group gradually achieved successes that few expected. 2 years later, the Jackson 5 signed their first recording contract with Motown Records and began to raise their voices in the American music scene. The group received much praise from audiences and music critics after their songs topped the Billboard Hot 100 charts for an extended period. Although he was not yet of age, Michael demonstrated his innate talent with the release of the singles Gotta Be There, Ben, and Rockin' Robin when he had just turned 14. Thanks to the initial successes of his children, Mr. Joseph decided to move the family to California in the 1970s. The first home they lived in was at 1616 Queens Road, Los Angeles, and of course, it was purchased with the money his sons earned through music. During this time, the Jackson 5 was referred to by the press as Jackson Mania, implying the fervent admiration of the audience for the Jackson family. However, the Jackson 5 later fell into a decline in 1976 as their relationship with Motown Records worsened. That same year, the Jackson 5 signed with CBS Records. However, the group was sued by Motown Records for prematurely canceling their contract. During this time, Michael began to achieve greater success in his solo activities by writing and performing popular songs such as Shake Your Body, This Place Hotel, and Can You Feel It. In 1978, when Michael played a poor character in the film that was alongside diva Diana Ross, he coincidentally met Quincy Jones. They became friends and planned to produce and release Michael's first album together. 4 years later, When Michael Jackson's album Thriller was released in 1982, the role of the Jackson Family Band was almost over, paving the way for a glorious era in the solo career of the King of Pop. The album Thriller ranks second among the most successful albums of all time in the US and held the top spot on the music charts for an extended period. Thriller is also one of the best-selling albums of all time, with over 107 million copies sold, becoming one of the albums with the most #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. But from this point on, a new chapter in Michael Jackson's career officially began. If it had to be given a name, it might be called Glory and Tragedy. Before Michael Jackson, few black artists had a significant impact on the global entertainment industry like he did. Through talent and hard work, the King of Pop gradually dominated the most important positions in the glittering billion-dollar industry. Indeed, Michael Jackson was 100% black. And no, he did not use skin lightening cream. The story of Michael Jackson's skin color is a complex and not very cheerful one. In the early 1980s, Michael Jackson was the most talked about black singer in the media. He was celebrated as the star of African American descent, receiving almost unanimous support from all segments of the audience, from white, yellow, and red to black. Michael Jackson became a symbol of the success and striving of black artists in the land of the free. Thanks to him, the then nascent MTV quickly secured a crucial position in the global entertainment industry. However, everything gradually changed. Many fans were surprised each time Michael Jackson appeared, as his outward appearance, especially his skin color and face, changed significantly. He no longer resembled the image of a black person as before. From 1992 onwards, Michael Jackson's skin gradually became noticeably whiter, which became a hot topic of discussion in the media. In response to the media's inquiries, Michael did not deny the changes in his body. He explained that he had vitiligo, a skin pigmentation disorder, which caused his skin to gradually lose its natural color. However, Michael Jackson's explanation could not soothe the discontent of the black community in America. They believed he was trying to escape his roots, even transforming into a white person to seek further success in a society that is notoriously known for its racism. A cosmetic surgeon in New York once revealed that Michael Jackson underwent extensive surgery to alter his nose, teeth, jaw, chin, lips, cheeks, and even used medication to lighten his skin. Additionally, some tabloid newspapers in America reported that Michael Jackson slept in a sealed room filled with oxygen to prevent the aging process. But is that the truth? What really happened to the skin of the King of Pop? Would a person be willing to deny their origins and skin color just for wealth and fame? The answer may lie in the revelations of a man named Arnold Klein, Michael Jackson's dermatologist while he was alive. Klein stated that Michael began showing signs of vitiligo in 1983, a condition characterized by the loss of pigment in patches of skin. Moreover, Michael Jackson also suffered from another cruel skin disease called lupus. After 4 years of monitoring, in 1986, Klein officially diagnosed Michael with both conditions and indicated that he needed treatment with special methods. However, the truth is even harsher. Vitiligo not only had negative effects on Michael's physical health, but also forced him to face serious mental issues. The noticeable changes in his body created heavy psychological pressure, leaving an indelible wound in the heart of the King of Pop. Michael Jackson used bright tone makeup and possibly skin lightening creams to cover up the uneven skin areas caused by vitiligo. These products made his skin appear lighter, and combined with the effects of makeup, Michael often appeared with the pale look that the public was accustomed to. However, very few people understood his circumstances. Many continued to criticize Michael Jackson for his skin color change, even calling him a bad role model for young people of color, or making up stories that he wanted to look more like a white person to have a chance to participate in movies and television shows. However, in an interview with Oprah Winfrey in February 1993, Michael Jackson directly addressed this issue. He said, "As far as I know, there is no such thing as skin bleaching. I have never seen it, and I don't know what it is." Michael acknowledged that he had vitiligo and had to use makeup to cover uneven skin patches. He continued, "That's something I can't control. When people start making up stories that I don't want to be myself, it hurts me deeply. This is my personal issue, and I can't change it." But there are millions of people exposing themselves to the sun to have darker skin, to look different from themselves, and no one says anything about that. This interview attracted 62 million American viewers, and they ultimately received an official answer from Michael Jackson. Except for a few who still held grudges, the majority of the public seemed to understand and empathize with him more. That interview also sparked significant interest in vitiligo, a condition that very few people knew about prior to that time. Michael Jackson always proudly claimed that he was a person of color. This was clearly expressed in a letter he wrote to photographer William Perch in 1988, where he expressed pride in his heritage and culture. "Perhaps I have looked at the world through rose-colored glasses, but I truly love all people on this planet. That is why stories of racism trouble me so much. I believe that all people have equal rights. I was taught that and will always believe in it. I cannot understand why people can have conflicts just because of their skin color. I love all races on Earth. Stigma is merely a manifestation of ignorance. We come into this world in a state of undress, and that always reminds me that, beneath this clothing, regardless of skin color or ethnicity, we are all the same." Not long after Michael Jackson passed away, Binikin and hydroquinone tubes were found in his home. These are two skin-lightening creams often recommended for adults with over 50% of their body affected by vitiligo, aimed at whitening the remaining pigments to match the depigmented areas. The autopsy of Michael Jackson confirmed that he indeed suffered from vitiligo. His skin was found to have a significant reduction in melanocytes, the cells that determine a person's skin color. Ultimately, when he passed away, the injustice of being labeled as denying his racial background was clarified. But it seems that fate had not yet released Michael Jackson. He continued to endure another, greater, more terrifying injustice, which remains unresolved to this day, even decades after he closed his eyes. Do you know what that injustice is? "There is no snowflake that is innocent." These are the words of a Canadian artist, and what Michael Jackson was accused of inadvertently aligns very well with that statement. The story will begin here. Take a look at this mansion. It is called Neverland. Yes, you heard that right. It is the name of the magical land in the famous movie Peter Pan. Michael Jackson purchased the property located on the hills of the Santa Ynez Valley in Santa Barbara County, California, in 1987 for about $19 million. There is no need for conversion. Perhaps people can understand how incredibly large this amount of money was over 30 years ago. At Neverland, Michael Jackson built a private playground with an amusement park, a lake, a movie theater, and a zoo. It was described as a miniature America from many decades ago, where any child would dream of growing up. Neverland features white towers, intricately decorated street lamps, meticulously maintained lawns and flower beds. Additionally, there are tree houses and a mock village for Native Americans, free candy always available, and music playing from speakers hidden in the rocks. One of the most famous residents of the zoo was the chimpanzee Bubbles, Michael Jackson's special companion. Other famous friends of his were frequently welcomed there. In 1991, his confidant, pop music queen Elizabeth Taylor, who once gifted Michael Jackson an elephant, held her wedding to her seventh husband, Larry Fortensky, right at Neverland. However, the most notable characters here were not the famous stars but the children. Michael Jackson often brought children to Neverland through parties for child stars like Macaulay Culkin or children selected from charities he participated in. But unfortunately, children are also the source of the greatest injustice that Michael Jackson had to bear, a lingering pain that still exists today. The King of Pop was accused multiple times of abusing children in his mansion. 10 years after his death, the documentary Leaving Neverland by director Dan Reed, which is 4 hours long, reignited endless debates about whether the pop icon abused children. The film centers around the accusations made by 36-year-old choreographer Wade Robson and 42-year-old programmer James Safechuck against Michael Jackson. These two men previously filed a lawsuit against Michael Jackson, claiming that the legendary singer had sexually abused them when they were children in the late 1980s. However, the lawsuit was later dismissed by the court due to a lack of specific evidence proving the allegations. Before the film officially premiered, festival director John Cooper arranged for a medical team to be on standby to assist those who might have issues while watching a work that clearly depicts child abuse. But what did the film talk about? James Safechuck revealed that Michael Jackson used to take him, when he was a teenager, to various luxury stores and let him try on jewelry. Michael Jackson explained to the sales staff that he wanted to buy a gift for a woman, so young James Safechuck's small hands helped estimate the size. Later, Michael Jackson bought a gold ring set with diamonds and gave that gift to him in a fake wedding, where the two even exchanged vows and nearly completed a ceremony. In leaving Neverland, James Safechuck publicly displayed the ring while emphasizing that Jackson used expensive jewelry in exchange for sex. At the peak of their friendship, in the way Michael Jackson defined his relationships with boys, he bought Wade Robson, the second accuser featured in the documentary My Truth, a hot technology device from the late 1980s that the king of pop often used to send messages or receive letters from fans. Not stopping there, the Neverland paradise we admire everywhere holds secrets, including a private room inside Michael Jackson's movie theater. This room used one-way glass. It could be seen from the inside, but not from the outside. Neverland's train station also has a hidden loft with a bed. Additionally, places like the pool or bathtub were also accused of being locations for the king of pop's child abuse acts. With the content still shrouded in too many uncertainties and lacking specific evidence from both sides, the battle over the authenticity of Leaving Neverland continues to unfold intensely among Americans and the communities that admire the great pop legend, as well as child welfare organizations, with the accusing side still very prominent. It can be said that never before has anyone pondered so much about a star like this. No one knows whether to trust the evidence presented in the lawsuit or to listen to the living witnesses who have struggled almost their entire lives to bring this shocking story to light. Even now, those allegations remain unclarified. The king of pop is no longer here to defend himself. What will happen to this monument? That 2019 documentary, while revealing extremely horrific things, offers no convincing evidence at all. It is merely the words of two individuals whose honesty cannot be verified. Even the ring, the piece of evidence, could easily deceive those with biases against Michael Jackson, as no one knows what it truly looks like. In 2019 was not the first time Michael Jackson was accused of child abuse. Previously, those who tried to tarnish the reputation of the king of pop had all failed. In mid-1993, Jackson was accused of child sexual abuse by a 13-year-old boy, and the boy's father began using drugs to cope with stress and quickly became addicted. The family sought compensation but was denied. Instead, the Jackson camp countered that they intended to blackmail him. In August 1993, police searched Jackson's home and found books and photographs of boys in a state of undress in his bedroom. Since they were all legally purchased and owned, the grand jury decided not to indict Michael Jackson. In December 1993, Jordan Chandler sent the police a description of the singer's physical features, which the jury members believed did not match. However, the police insisted they were accurate. By 1994, Michael reached a private settlement with the Chandlers outside of court. The matter ended, and the king of pop was declared not guilty due to insufficient evidence. By 2003, in an episode of the documentary series Living with Michael Jackson, he held hands and spoke about sleeping in the same bed with a boy. Once again, the situation erupted when the main character, the boy Gavin Avizo, and his mother accused Jackson of inappropriate behavior. He was arrested in November 2003 and charged with 7 counts of child sexual abuse and 2 counts of intoxication management in relation to the boy Avizo in the program. Jackson denied everything and asserted that the sleepover at his house was not sexual in nature. The trial took place on May 31, 2005, and lasted for 5 months. More than a month later, Jackson was acquitted once again. A life full of glory and turmoil had passed, yet at the time of his passing, Michael Jackson was not at peace. Even the circumstances of his death became a topic of discussion for many years. On June 25, 2009, singer Michael Jackson passed away at Neverland, his magical kingdom for himself and the children. According to the autopsy and conclusions, Michael Jackson died from acute propofol intoxication leading to respiratory failure at his home. His personal doctor, Conrad Murray, stated that he found Michael Jackson in his room with faint breathing, seemingly not breathing, on his bed. Michael Jackson was quickly given medical treatment at home. However, it seemed that all the doctor's efforts could not save him. After a 911 call at 12:20, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at UCLA Ronald Reagan Medical Center. Michael Jackson's death was an enormous loss for the pop music world and created a somber atmosphere worldwide among fans. The King of Pop still had a strong allure and significant influence at that time. He passed away while preparing for a series of performances in Europe. On August 28, 2009, investigators in Los Angeles County ruled out the possibility that Michael Jackson's death was a murder. The case was nearly closed at that point. However, 2 years later, the legal battle over who was responsible for Michael Jackson's sudden death was investigated. Because, even if it was not direct murder, it could still be considered manslaughter. The first person suspected and investigated was Dr. Conrad Murray, Michael Jackson's personal physician. According to Conrad Murray's testimony, he used propofol, a surgical anesthetic, to help Michael Jackson sleep through the night during the last 2 months of his life. This means that in the final days of his life, Michael Jackson's mental health had deteriorated to the point where he could not sleep. Dr. Conrad Murray was immediately handcuffed and charged with manslaughter of the King of Pop, Michael Jackson. This left Michael Jackson's fans and family feeling somewhat satisfied and content. But surprisingly, the doctor was not worried about this. He believed he had done the right thing and served the wishes of his client well. He thought he had reason to give Michael Jackson that medication. Conrad Murray was uncooperative and denied all allegations against him. This made it difficult for the jury to continue the investigation in the most favorable manner. Not only that, Conrad Murray shocked the judge and the public by claiming that Michael Jackson had been addicted to drugs. The King of Pop had begged him to prescribe medication to help him sleep. The lawyer for Dr. Conrad Murray, who was on trial for the manslaughter of the King of Pop, hypothesized that it was Michael Jackson himself who ended his life by self-administering an overdose of the anesthetic propofol, leading to his death. In an effort to prove his client's innocence in the death of the King of Pop, the lawyer requested the exhumation of Michael Jackson's body. Of course, that could not happen. On the other hand, the police had their own ways to substantiate the allegations against Dr. Murray. 2 of the leading experts on propofol were invited to serve as indirect witnesses for the prosecution. The first was Dr. Paul White, known as the father of propofol for his research on the drug, and the second was Dr. Stepshire, who wrote the accompanying guidelines and warnings for each vial of the medication. 2 doctors noted that, according to most trials, they found that the drugs and propofol had certain reactions with each other. Examining tissue samples from Michael Jackson, they also found that in addition to using the anesthetic propofol during surgery, Michael Jackson was also administered 2 other sedatives, benzodiazepines lorazepam and midazolam, almost every night in the last 2 months of his life. To justify this issue, the defense attorney for Dr. Conrad Murray pointed out that Dr. Murray was trying to wean Michael Jackson off drugs by prescribing propofol at a dosage of 25 milligrams, enough to help patient Michael Jackson sleep, but not to kill him. However, whether he wanted to or not, defendant Conrad Murray and his lawyer could not deny one fact: the doctor managed the medication poorly. For instance, after administering the drug, he did not use equipment to monitor heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure. This led to abnormalities that the doctor also failed to address in time. More specifically, after noticing that Michael Jackson showed signs of not breathing, Dr. Conrad Murray asked the bodyguard to hide all medications before calling an ambulance. This demonstrates that Conrad Murray also recognized the negligence when the incident occurred. Moreover, he surely had a plan to cover up his wrongdoing. It is believed that Dr. Conrad Murray acted carelessly and deceitfully, leading to the death of superstar Michael Jackson. This is a criminal act, not just simple medical negligence. This is a crime that ultimately resulted in the death of a human being. In a recent statement, after considering mitigating circumstances, the Los Angeles judge declared, "It is important to distinguish between crimes. Many people think this is a case of medical negligence, but it is actually not. It is a case of criminal negligence, the manslaughter of Michael Jackson. Criminal negligence occurs when one acts carelessly, disregards human life, and is indifferent to the consequences left behind. In fact, Michael Jackson died due to the irresponsible actions of Conrad Murray. Conrad Murray crossed the line in treating his patient, resulting in the crime of manslaughter. The evidence in the case shows a continuous pattern of deceit from the doctor. Dr. Conrad Murray lied multiple times and showed no remorse. Dr. Conrad Murray administered the powerful sedative propofol to Michael Jackson, but did not supervise the patient carefully. Michael Jackson placed too much trust in Dr. Conrad Murray, and that ultimately cost him his life. After a series of arguments and evidence presented by authorities, prosecutors, and those in power, the Los Angeles court sentenced Dr. Conrad Murray to 4 years in prison for his manslaughter charge. This doctor showed no signs of remorse and did not fully understand the wrongdoing he had committed. This made him a danger to society. However, Dr. Murray only had to serve half of his 4-year sentence. Although he began serving his sentence in November 2011 and was to be released in November 2015, Conrad Murray was released early due to good behavior and the overcrowding of inmates, which forced the prison to reduce the number of old inmates. I bet that even now, many people still frequently listen to the timeless songs of Michael Jackson. They may have become not just music, but also memories, a monument of a generation or a historical period. When will Michael Jackson finally rest in peace? And when will the accusations against him be clarified? When will the world forget that there was a figure known as the King of Pop? Perhaps only time will give us the most accurate answers. Thank you very much for the companionship and support of the audience in today's video. This video will now come to an end. Goodbye and see you in the next videos. I wish everyone a pleasant day.